but I wasn't settling for 2 weeks. I wanted to see Nadia full time. She was born in England and I wanted to bring her back. So after the 2 weeks, I came home, and it was in November that 2007 that I decided to leave everything and give everything up and move to Libya and be with Nadia and find her.
And what happened in the end? You're back in Britain now?
Yes, thankfully, you know, through the courts, it was hard. 2.5 years that I battled through court to get custody of Nadia. I won custody pretty much straight away, and after 2.5 years, I got her in my care. After the government over there tracked her down and found her, and I managed to bring her back home.
Thank you. Well, do stay with us, Mr. Elvin. I mean, what are your rights when you've got parents of different nationalities and one parent takes a child abroad?
It very much depends on whether the country they've taken the child to is signatory to the 1980 Hague Convention on Child Abduction or not. As Sarah found in Libya, they're not a signatory to the Hague Convention, so there is no legal way of getting the child back very straightforwardly. So countries outside the Hague Convention, if children are abducted there, then parents are very much at the mercy of the courts in that country or at the mercy of any procedures they can get from here. Though today's report from Lord Justice Thorpe touches on another issue, which is the number of parents who are actually fleeing child protection procedures in countries. And in some ways that's slightly more worrying than parental child abductions, because in parental child abductions, though it is a terrible thing to happen, the child is not, in the majority of cases, directly at risk from the abducting parents.
These are parents, and it's been highlighted in the papers this week, these are parents who the authorities have worries about their parenting, and they go abroad taking their child with them.
Yeah, to evade child protection procedures, and it happens with children coming to the UK, and it also happens with children leaving the UK to go abroad. And due to the increasing internationalisation of family life in the UK, it is more common now to have parents from overseas who have children in the UK.
You talked about the problems when children are taken out of the country and out of our jurisdiction. What about when they're still in the country? What about when they're trying to leave the country? What kind of checks and protection is there then?
Well, in terms of checks to have people leaving the country, there are no checks. You'll know every time you go through an airport. There's no embarkation checks in the UK. We ended those some years ago. So no one actually checks your passport or checks whether you're known to social services when you're leaving the country, and it would probably be unfeasible to do that. The issue is when you're involved as a social worker with a family where there is a large overseas component to the family, you're minded to take some precautions yourself to make sure they don't flee. And it can be very simple things. It can be having the passport stored in an agreed place. It's making sure the children don't have dual nationalities, because often children will have a UK passport and a passport from another country. And it's sometimes getting parental agreement through the courts that they will not relocate the children overseas. But also, just to say, what you actually need is to make sure you know about the family overseas, you know names, addresses, you have contact details, so you know where they are likely to have gone.
Sarah Taylor, you were nodding as Andy Elvin was talking there. I mean, what would you like to see done?
I've done all that. I got a prohibited stepped order, and I got Nadia's British passport. All that was hidden from her father, and he went and he got Nadia in London and got her name put on his passport, his Libyan passport, and took her out of the country and managed to get through customs and get straight through to Libya on that passport. And her name was even spelt incorrectly on the passport, and he still managed to get away with it. Something needs to be done about this, because more children are going every single year.
So you would like stronger checks and stronger protection in this country to prevent it happening?
Yes.
Now, you had high-level political backing when you were trying to get Nadia back, didn't you? How much of a difference did that make?
It made a hell of a lot of difference. Obviously, I had the backing of Gaddafi himself. He helped me, you know. He got me back with Nadia and helped us get back home. But not every case is, you know, is as easy as that. You know, you go to some countries and they'll not let you through customs. But this country seems to open the door to everyone and let the children go. Something needs to be done.
Thankfully, you were reunited with Nadia, but you had spent a long period apart. What effect has that had on your relationship and on Nadia?
Well, when I got Nadia back, she didn't speak English, but thankfully, you know, 2.5 years, she still recognised me. She still knew who I was, and we've just bonded from that day to this. And as you can see, she's doing absolutely fine now. Thankfully, she's adjusted to life back here, and she's doing fine.
Mr. Alvin, just finally, I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is in both these cases, both parents in dispute and people fleeing from child protection orders, that you just think there's got to be tighter border controls.
Well, in some ways, embarkation controls are key to some of this. And if you leave the United States, for example, with a child who is not your own, a niece or a nephew, you are liable to be questioned at the border going. We simply do not question people at the border going, and it's all a matter of resources. All the pressure on our immigration services, both from the public and from the media, is on incoming. It's on border controls, stopping people coming in. Whereas to leave, for example, visitor visas for children in the UK, you get a 6-month visitor visa for a child. If you overstay that visitor visa, no one's checking. It doesn't ping up on your system. We have no idea how many children who've overstayed on visitor visas are still in the UK, because the visitor visa system is simply not policed. And when you leave, no one checks the passport, so no one can see you've overstayed a visa. So it's not policed on the way out either. And in terms of child trafficking, it's the worry about children being moved on from the UK to another country, because they won't be checked on the way out, because all the pressure, all the resources is on the way in.
Thank you very much indeed.
Well, this is Sky News coming up. Expecting the worst, Adam is speaking to one of the world's top